Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Mazda rx7-r1 build. Today we're going to be looking at doing the window masking. This car has heavy borders around the glass and does not include any masks in the kit. So I just decided to make my own instead of having to go through ordering a set of masks that are available and waiting for them to show up. So let's see if I can do this or if I can screw this up. Here we see I've already got the rear glass mask applied. So I'm going to go through how I made this using the front glass, which is probably going to be a little bit tougher because the front also has a side glass attached. So you don't have a lot of room to get in there and maneuver the mask. As I found the hardest part of the mask is actually applying it to a curved glass without having it rise up on the edges, which is something you got to be careful of because then the paint can sneak in underneath that. So now that this is applied, after I apply the masks, then it's going to go and I will airbrush the black borders. Now what I like to use for masking material is I buy Tamiya masking sheets. These are great because they have a grid work on them that allows you to line up your lines and also helps you to keep well on track of whatever it is that you're trying to trace out to create a mask on. It's a really good sheet. They're very translucent, so you can see right through them. And they work very well. So let me get started with the first step here. What I like to do is I take a mechanical pencil, particularly on this kit. As you can see, the glass has, on this particular kit, it has a rough inner texture where the black areas are supposed to be. Now that works very well because it holds the pencil marks from the mechanical pencil. Being a rough edge, it holds the graphite from the pencil very well. Whereas on the smooth part of the glass, the pencil won't leave a mark at all. So what I do is I trace the outer border of the windshield, and what makes it really easy to trace that is that the graphite will only stick to the rough parts of the glass, which gives you a nice clean line all the way around the windshield that you'll be able to use as reference for when you're making your mask. Now, if it was just smooth all around, then you'd probably have to use something like a Sharpie, and then you'll clean that off, or don't even bother because you're going to be painting over it anyway. And that will allow you to write on the smooth parts of the glass. Okay, now here's where the Tamiya paper comes in really handy. As you can see, I can plot. Let's bring it in a little closer. I can plot exactly where the edges of the glass are going to be, where the corners are, using the grid line here, which gives me an exact measurement of how much of this sticker sheet I'm going to need. So I'm just going to mark out right here, and kind of hard to see this with the camera in the way, and here. And this is what we're going to use for our masking material. Also helps to have a really sharp pair of scissors. So I'm going to cut this out and get it ready to lay a mask. Okay, now I have my piece of masking paper cut out. I would lay the glass on top of, let me just stop this video here. I can lay the piece that I'm working on top of a light colored background, such as this Tamiya polishing cloth. And that allows me to see the black border that I put on the windshield clearly. Now, it's going to be very simple. What we're going to do is we're just going to remove the masking sheet from its backing paper, and we're going to save the backing paper. That's going to come in useful later. If I can get the sheet off. Come on, Tamiya paper. Here it comes. It's kind of tricky, but we'll get it. We'll get it. Come on, Tamiya paper, you're making me look bad. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to lay it as smoothly as we can on the windshield. Making sure that we have it completely on the glass. All the air bubbles out so that you know it'll lay flat. Now, so the windshield is symmetrical all the way around, because when we lay it back on the glass, it's going to be on the opposite side. If it's made correctly, it's the same from left to right, so it really wouldn't matter whether you reverse it or not. And as you can see, let's see if we can see this closely here. You can see the darkened pencil line all around the glass. Okay, now. Okay, guys, I decided to switch it up and do it from the inside of the glass. As when I looked at the entire piece, as I laid it on the outside, I took a look over it and I saw that it might be better if I get the actual shape of the glass because of the side glass here, which is what's going to cause me a trouble if I do it this way and then I try and reverse it. I thought I might have a problem. It may have worked out fine or it may not. I don't know. So I decided, let me just save myself a headache later on and just do it from the inside. Now, as you can see, let's see if you can see the pencil markings all around the perimeter of the glass. That is going to give us our template for drawing out the mask. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the mechanical pencil and draw the exact same shape that we have here right back onto the tape. Okay, now I can just get the light. This is a little difficult to do, trying to do it on the camera, but we're going to try just so you guys can see exactly what this is all about. So now I'm just going to trace over the line that I made. Let me see if a lighter. There it is. That's a little better. The lighter your background, the more you can show through, the easier it'll be to trace your line. So basically that's all I'm doing, is just retracing the line that I just made. So that when I pull this backing paper off to cut out this template, I'll have an exact shape of the windshield, hopefully. Alright, so here we go. As I said, there are mask kits already available. But since I didn't really want to wait to order one, because of course I didn't plan this out ahead of time. So I really didn't want to wait to order a mask kit and just hold this project up anymore. I figured I would just make my own. Now the grid lines on this masking sheet do help with me aligning my pencil marks. As I can see right where the mark on the glass intersects the lines, and I can just pretty much follow it, and it gives you a grid to follow, which works pretty well. I really like this Tamiya masking paper. Okay, so there we go. Now we have our entire window traced out, and now we bring back our original backing sheet. And this is why it's important you save it, because what we're going to do is we're going to take the mask off of the glass carefully. And we're going to put it back on our backing sheet. This wax paper, not to say that it's reusable, but you can use it at least one more time. We're going to lay this down, and this is going to give us a solid backing so that we can cut out our mask. So now just make sure you have a very sharp pair of scissors so you can cut it out exactly the way you see it here. And then we'll go about laying it in. So let me cut this out, and then we'll lay it in. Okay, so now we have our mask cut out, and you have to make sure, one of the tricky parts of making these masks is that you have to make sure that you cut right on the line that you just drew on the masking paper. If you cut on the outside edge of the line, you're going to make the mask too big. On the inside edge, you're going to make it too small. Now, it's a matter of, you know, it could be a minuscule amount that you may not even notice, or maybe something that's totally noticeable. But you want to try and make it as precise as possible. As I can see, I have to do a little bit of trimming here. Let me just trim that a little bit there. So you're definitely going to want to measure it against the glass before you apply it. That's better. And that's better there. And I think I'm in a happy place right now with this mask. Let's take a look on the outside. And on the outside I can see the sides is just about right. On the bottom it's just about right. On the top it's just about right. You may not get it 100% exact, as cutting it by hand is not the same as using a machine to cut everything exactly right. But let's see, I'm going to do a little more trimming here. So is it easier to buy them already made? Yes, it is. Is it worth the wait? Sometimes. Depending on how much you're really not going to like this process. Alright, so let's go here and here. And I think we are just about there. Okay, I think I'm going to be happy with that. The little bit here and there that it's off, it's something that won't really be noticeable. Okay, now you just clean these pencil marks off, which is very easy because basically you just rub them right off. And now we apply the mask. Don't worry about wiping off every last bit of the pencil because most of it's going to be covered by paint. I worry about mostly just where the mask may have been slightly off from the original markings, and then that's it. Okay, now we have a perfectly good mask on backing paper, which we can now apply to the windshield. This is the hardest part, is just getting it to lay down on the glass. And now we're back to our original issue with this paper, which is separating it from the backing paper. You would think it would be easier now because I've already done it once. Okay, so let's work smarter, not harder. Tough part is you don't want to hurt the edges because that's what you're going to need to seal the most. I do believe I know how I'm going to handle this from here on out, which is I'm going to, this will be an interesting tip, and instead of laying it on the one piece of backing paper, if you cut the backing paper in half, overlap them. Let me show you. I just thought of this. I should have thought of this before. Overlap them this way, and then lay your mask on it this way. When it comes time to remove it, you'll be able just to peel one side off and then the other side. Wish I had thought of that before, because then I wouldn't have this. But you know what? It's a learning process. For the next one, I'm there. Alright, give me a second to get this off, and then I'll be back. Okay, guys, I'm back. I have to use the X-Acto knife to peel it off. There we go. Very good adhesive on this paper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to peel it back a little bit, and we're going to try and lay it down. This may take a couple of attempts, as you can only do it in steps to make sure that you have it totally lined up. And then make sure it doesn't curl up on itself. So this is the part that gets a little bit tricky, because you want it to lay totally flat on the glass. And I can see now I'm going to have to go over a little bit. I start on one corner, and I just put the corner down, as it'll allow me to maneuver the mask from side to side and up and down. Okay, I think I've got it in the right place there. And then just smooth it out slowly as you go down, making sure that you're covering everywhere you want. And also that it lays nice and flat, as that is the biggest issue. And there we go. We have our windshield mask in place. It could have probably come over just a hair, but that shouldn't be really noticeable when it's installed in the car. I hope. But I think I've got it basically where I want it. Alright, so that's installing the mask. Next step is paint. Alright guys, now we're back. We're going to put a little paint on the windshield and hope that our masking works. Now here's one place where I prefer to use an airbrush, as it gives you more control over how much paint you're going to put down, because you don't want to have so much paint that it bleeds under the mask. So you want to lay it on thinly to limit that chance. And then put it down in layers. To prevent it from bleeding under the mask. We're going to do that first. And we're going to come to the rear windshield. There we go. And we're going to slowly just build up the color. To prevent any of it from bleeding through, hopefully. We're gonna hope. Okay. It's getting darker. Oops, no, you can't see because I'm not in the camera. There we go. Little by little, we're just gonna darken it in. Until we get it right where we want it. Hopefully I put enough paint in the cup. There we go. Just little by little, layering it up until we get it where we want it. I'm using a Tamiya acrylic semi-gloss black. I really love their acrylic paints. And I use them for most of my model building. Alright, let's give everything a second there to dry off a little bit. And then we'll continue with the painting. Okay, we let them sit for a few minutes, and now we're going to... see if we can adjust the camera better here. Continue with our painting, layering up the color, as I said before. Just building it up slowly to limit any chance of bleeding through the mask. Because there's always a chance that that's going to happen, no matter how well you apply it. So, if you do light coats on your borders and let them dry, you're going to minimize any chance of the bleed. I think we're doing pretty good right now. Just a couple more coats, I think, and we should be good to go. Borders of these windows. Okay, guys, I think that one more coat ought to do it. And keep everything looking exactly the way we want it. What you don't want to do, you don't want to apply heavy wet coats, because that's your enemy right here on something like this. That's why you want to build the color up slowly. lessen a chance of bleeding through the mask. Now looking at this, I think this one is done. Let's give it a little check on the other side and see where we're at. Oh, that's perfect. Here we have the cowling is done. Looks like our border came through perfectly on here. Tiny little bit of bleed through there, but it's nothing that I can't correct. A little bit on that top corner. For the most part, I am happy. So that's one done. This is one of the most nerve-wracking parts of model building because it's a transparent piece, which is not easy to repair when you screw it up. The rear glass, here we go. Take a look at that. Very happy with that. One thing now is to peel off the mask. Just let it dry for a few minutes more before I peel that off, and then we'll be done. Alright guys, here we got them unwrapped. Masking is done. Not perfect, as they're still a little misaligned, but I think for the most part, they look pretty good. Windshields are not in totally. The rear especially, I think, came out better than the front. As it was a little too far back on the top of the front. But once the windshield is glued in to the proper position, which a little tough right now to hold it in when I'm trying not to touch the black. I also try not to mess too much with the body since the clear coat was just applied yesterday. It's hard enough to touch now, but don't want to put too much pressure on it. And you can't see, there we go, that's the windshield in the proper place. We have a little bit of the black border there, and there will be a sunshade window tint applied to the top as part of the decal set, which will help bring that down a little bit more. So I think that's going to work out just great. The rear looks good. I said I am slightly misaligned on the mask placement. That was a little tough on the rear, but I think that a little bit of misalignment once the interior is in and the rest of the body is put together and everything's dark back there, is something that really won't be that noticeable. But there we go, guys. There is masking windshields. One of the worst parts of model building. Next time maybe I'll buy the mask set. But it was an interesting learning experience. First time I think I've ever really done that. And pretty sure my next try I'll get it just right. But for now, I think it's good. Alright guys, that's it for this episode, and I'm gonna go back to waiting for everything to dry. That seems to be the trend right now with this kit, before I can go any further with it. And that's it for this episode. I guess I will see you on the next one. And remember, like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, Onyx Models, and join the ride here. It's turning out to be a really good kit. I'm really happy with it. And leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. Alright, I'll see you on the next one.